Hello again, Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College, attempting to finish up with part 4 of the last 3 or 4 pages for Chapter 5 for the 152, 153 Mobile Web Development iPhone class for Spring 2015. So I've taken the original restructure that we've been working with and made a copy of it, and now I'm going to be going over the material that, again, is on the last few pages here. Okay. So I'm just going to follow these steps. Again, I'm on page 170. Much easier for me to not have to constantly be going back and forth. So we're told first to click the size classes control and select regular width, regular height. It says in the bottom right hand corner of the grid. And you can see on top it does say regular width, regular height. Regular, regular. It says the view controller in the editing area should switch to pretty much a square, which it has done. Before we make any changes in the assistant editor, use the jump bar to open up a preview. Don't worry about that. All right, they're telling us to run this. That's fine. The constraints for the new layout are inherited from the base design, as was the case when we constructed the iPhone landscape layout. We need to delete all of the inherited constraints. It's not always necessary to do this. Sometimes you want to keep some or even all of the constraints. In this case, though, it's easier to see what we're doing if we remove them. To do this, proceed as you did before. Open the size inspector and then select each of the enabled constraints in the document outline in turn. For each constraint, add a new entry in the size inspector for regular width, regular height, marking it as not installed. You don't need to make any changes to the constraints that are grayed out because these belong to the iPhone landscape design and do not need to appear on this layout. So, size inspector. Select each of the enabled constraints in the document outline in turn. And as you can see, there's a few of them. For each constraint, add a new entry for regular width, regular height, marking it as not installed. Hopefully you all know the drill by now. If any of you do happen to be watching this, first of all, thank you. And second of all, if you ever see that I'm doing anything wrong and you want to comment, either in class, online, seeing me before or after class, whatever is easiest for you, believe it or not, I do appreciate any comments. I'm doing this the best that I can. And I think you're getting the right general idea as I'm going through here, even if what I'm doing maybe isn't the best way of doing it or the exact way that they do it in the book or whatever. All right, and that's my intention behind this, is to run through this stuff with you, as much of it as I have time to do, and at least get you started on the road, so to speak. Hopefully that's the last one. And again, hopefully I've got them all in there correctly. All right. It says next we'll pin the top left and right hand sides of the green view to their correct positions. We won't fix the bottom of the view yet because we're going to move it downward shortly. Select the green view and click the pin button. Green view. What I'm trying to, instead of selecting it, I'm selecting the button that's down here, which is not what I'm trying to do. Green view, pin. Huh. Why wouldn't let me select that? I don't really know. Select it here. Oh, brother. We want to select it, click the pin view, and click the three dashed lines to the left, above, left, right of the square, and click Add Three Constraints. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to do this. Okay. Above, left, and right. And choose Add Three Constraints. For the iPad, we're going to arrange the 4 buttons in a single row underneath the green view, and because there's more space available, we'll make the button text larger. Let's do that now before we start moving things around. So we're told to select the Action 1 button, open the Attributes Inspector, and locate the font property. Any changes you make to the font will apply to all size classes, which is not what we want. To make a change to the current design only, click the plus button to the left of the font field. And select regular width, regular height. To add a new font field named WRHR, click the T in the font field. Change the font size from 15 to 20. Apply the same change to the other 3 buttons. Okay. All right, hopefully I've gotten all those done and done correctly. Next, drag the 4 buttons to make a single row at the bottom of the main view, aligning the bottom edges of the button with the bottom blue layout guide, and resize each button so you can see all of its text. Make sure that there is plenty of space left to the left and right of each button. You don't need to be too exact because auto layout will ensure that the buttons are properly sized at runtime. After you've done that, drag down on the green view so it's close to the tops of all the buttons. Well, it seems to me like the smartest thing to do would be to start here, drag this over. Again, I'm just eyeballing it, so I'm sure it's not only is it not perfect, it's very far from perfect. Made each button a little bit bigger. All right, hopefully they're pretty much the same size. Now we're supposed to bring down the green view so that it's fairly close. Okay. So hopefully what this looks like right now is it looks pretty similar to what you see in figure 531 on page 171. Now we can add a constraint to fix the bottom of the green view. Control drag from the green view downward until it turns blue. Release and choose bottom space to bottom layout guide. Bottom space to bottom guide. The green view is now in its final position. The next step is to add the constraints that will position the buttons. Again, we have the same problem as the one that we had when creating the iPhone landscape layout. We want the buttons to be equally spaced along the row. The only difference here is the orientation. We're going to use the same solution. Create filler views and add constraints that give them equal signs. Start by dragging a UI view onto the green view. Use the size inspector to give it a gray color. Resize it so it's small enough to fit between the gaps between the buttons. And then drag it so that basically it looks similar to what you see in figure 532 on page 172. Let's take a quick look at that. So I just did this. Okay, move that over. And now we're supposed to add these. Okay, so hopefully that won't be too big of a problem. I'm going to call this button view. Try it again. Okay. Click on it. Whoops. Oh, I wanted to click on it. And I think we wanted the width and height to each be about a pixel. I remember right. So I want to really cut down the size on this thing. And here. So this will be kind of what we did before. All right, and give it a background color of gray as we did before. All right. Let's drag the first one down to where I think it belongs, which is right here. Pretty close to there. I'm going to move this over a bit. There we go. Then I'm going to click on it. Oops. Click on it. Control drag. Option drag. And it's at least somewhat looking the way I believe that it should look. Again, it's not perfect at all. In fact, it is so far from perfect. It's more imperfect than it is perfect. All right. To make all the views the same size, select all of them and then click the pin button. In the pop-ups, click Equal Widths and Equal Heights and choose Add 8 Constraints. All right. To make them fill all the available vertical space, select any one and again choose the pin button. At the top, click the dashed lines above the square. At the top of the content menu, click the lines above the square. Enter 0 in the input fields at the top and bottom, and then click Add 2 Constraints. Since the filler views have the same height, they will now have the same, they will all fill the vertical space between the bottom of the green view and the bottom of the main view. Next, we need to align the vertical centers. So select all of the filler views and all the buttons. Then click the Align button. Select Vertical Centers. Oh, sorry, it was the Align button. Select Vertical Centers. And I'm missing one. So let me hold down on Shift and click. I think it looks like this is the one that's not being highlighted. Come on. Try it again. Click the Align button. Choose Vertical Centers and add 8 constraints. All right, to complete the layout, we need to make the filler views occupy all of the free horizontal space. This time select all the fillers. And click the pin button. At the top of the pop-up, uncheck Constrain to Margins, and then click the red dashed lines to the left and the right of the square. Enter 0 in the left and right input fields. Sorry, my dog's going nuts behind me here. Now it says click Add 10 Constraints, but I only have dash lines to the left and to the right. 0 in the left and right. Well, hopefully I did it correctly. All right. With all of the constraints added, we can have Xcode now update the positions of all of the views in the layout so that we can see the result. In the document outline, click the view controller and choose Editor, Resolve Auto Layout Issues, Update Frames. You should see the result shown, they mention here on the bottom. Well, as always, no I don't, because mine looks totally hosed. Run the app in the iPad simulator and verify you get the result. Correct results in portrait and landscape. Rerun it on the phone simulator, make sure it still works there also. So, well, you can see as always, or as oftentimes happen, I've balled mine up, but I'm going to go on and out with it anyway. In the next chapter, we're going to look at true multi-view applications. Every app we've written thus far has a single view controller and a single content view. A lot of complex iOS apps are made possible only by the use of multiple views and view controllers. So we'll see exactly what that looks like in Chapter 6. So again, I apologize for the fact that it doesn't appear as though it'll look right at all. But it does say iPhone 6 here, so hopefully when I go and switch this over to an iPad, let's try an iPad Air, and I'm going to stop the run and try it again. Again, it may very well look totally out of whack. If it does, apologies in advance, okay? I'm going to go on to Chapter 6 in just a couple minutes. As soon as I save this and produce this and throw it out on YouTube, then I'll be back with the next chapter. This looks anything like it did previewing it. Three of the buttons are going to be shoved over here and the other one's going to be shoved over there. So, again, not exactly sure what I'm doing wrong, but evidently it's something. Lost connection to iPad Air. Okay. Quit the simulator. Click OK. Try to run it again. So once this finishes, that will be it for the Chapter 5 lecture. Again, my hope is to have the Chapter 6 done and out there on the system by the time I get back to Blackhawk on Monday. So you can see the Action 4 looks okay, the Action 1 looks okay, but the 2 and 3 are just totally balled up. Same kind of thing here. So again, I apologize. That's it.